HMP Wandsworth has been labelled as failing in a new report into the prison, with the watchdog saying it isn't safe. The report by the Independent Monitoring Board found that in the last year there were nearly 1,000 assaults on prisoners or staff. Often only 50% of the required staff were actually on shift, and that means that prisoners were usually kept in their cells for 22 hours a day and forced to choose between exercise or showering during their free time. Levels of self-harm are said to be an increasing problem, with 998 incidents reported in the last year. The watchdog also found that access to contraband was alarmingly easy, while more than half of prisoners said it wasn't difficult to access drugs. Well, our correspondent Molly Malone has the latest.
This was yet another damning assessment of the state of Wandsworth Prison. This report was done by the Independent Monitoring Board, and it found, much like previous reports before it, inmates living in squalid, overcrowded conditions, sharing cells that are designed for one person, high levels of assaults and high levels of violence, severe staff shortages. It said staff levels were at 50% of what they should be. And an audit in November found 81 security failings, CCTV cameras that hadn't worked for over a year. Now, problems here at Wandsworth in South London are well documented. In fact, earlier in the year, the Chief Inspector of Prisons, Charlie Taylor, issued what's called an urgent notification, essentially putting the prison into special measures, which is, I guess, flagging to the government that it's failing on almost every front. And what that does is really put it on the government's radar for improvements. Now, as a result, we saw the government allocate £100 million to be spent over the course of 5 years for improvements. But there's been report after report into this prison about problems that are faced here. I actually spoke to David Shipley, a man called David Shipley. He served time here in 2020 for fraud offences and talked about the sort of place that he found it to be. This is what he had to say.
The problem, I think, with Wandsworth is it's just a place for ruining human lives and potential. So most prisoners in Wandsworth spend 22 or more hours a day lying on their bunks in their cells, staring at the walls, staring at daytime TV, often taking drugs or drinking because there is nothing else to do. Any skills people have just atrophy. Their mental health will suffer, and that results in people being way less likely to be able to function in society when they're released. What I found was the stuff that really stuck with me was the way in which people would be in serious danger, under attack, or very ill, or trying to commit suicide, and no one would come to help them for extended periods of time. It does just seem to get worse and worse and worse. And for me, that's the tragic thing, that this place has been chewing up people for years and years and years. It does nothing good. It doesn't do anything to help people be less likely to reoffend. It does a huge amount of harm.
It's also the prison where last year Daniel Khalife, a former inmate, allegedly escaped, allegedly attaching himself to the underside of a food delivery truck. But this really is a prison where report after report finds problem with how it operates, staff shortages, overcrowding levels. It's worth saying, though, this at the moment is just one of so many prisons right across England and Wales that are overcrowded. The government, day by day, are finding themselves launching new emergency measures to try and deal with it.